Simon Sinek is a very big proponent of this, like why, knowing your why, having a big why. I've seen a few things on your swag, but do you want to talk about those briefly of just like, do good, it'll come back, and be kind, and like, where did all that stem from? And
from like my childhood, like I had a front row seat watching my dad just serve and give and give and give of his time and of his resources. Like he just is a giver and just gives of everything he has. And so I saw how relationships should be developed, and I saw that relationships matter, the long term, or just giving and serving someone without having any type of agenda and looking for something in return. And so when RepCard was young, our logo was just an RC, which is kind of common for, I don't know, just trying to get something going. And as I thought about the brand, I'm like, one day we may change the name of this company, and so what's something that can be like more evergreen? And I just thought of a boomerang, and like the boomerang effect, like you put out good things into the world and take care of people and treat people right, starting with your own employees and your customers, like, and good things just will come back.
Wow. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Be Bright podcast. Today, we are joined by yours truly, Brad Mortensen with RepCard. Brad, thanks for coming on. For those that don't know Brad, which is probably a small select few, if you don't mind, just give a little background about yourself and what's been going on with you lately.
Yeah, where do you want me to start?
Wherever you want, man.
Wherever.
Where are you from?
Well, I grew up here in Arizona, in Mesa, and when I was 19, I went on a mission, served in Chile. That was a big part of my childhood, was just preparing to go on a mission, and that was a beautiful time. And then came home from my mission and got into door-to-door sales.
Awesome.
And did that for a long time, and then during that journey started RepCard, so that's kind of the short version.
Awesome, yeah, and we'll definitely dive into that. And are you still paying the electric company for power every single month? You're not only losing money, you're investing in someone else's future, not your own. Bright Home Energy has over 400 5-star reviews and over 100 5-star reviews on the BBB. That means real homeowners just like you are already making the switch with quality and peace of mind. We are the preferred solar installer for SolarEdge Technologies in Arizona. Not a title that was given, but a title that was earned through quality, structure, and peace of mind. As a NABCEP certified solar installer and an APS qualified technology installer, your solar installation with Bright Home Energy is not good, it's top tier. So the choice is yours. You can either keep paying your utility company every month, making them rich, or you can make the switch to solar and start investing in your future today. Always interesting too, I find, like everybody's path into door-to-door sales. Mine was similar, went and did a mission. That's actually how I met Matt. So I was from Utah, he's from Arizona. We ended up knowing each other and then becoming like companions, and what a trip. But stories for off the air. But that's how I eventually made my way down to Arizona. But when it comes to door-to-door sales, how did you first get introduced to it?
Yeah, I came home from my mission, and I was just looking for an opportunity to get back into start working, and had a few job offers to do like a bank teller and hourly stuff. Yeah. And I had a neighbor that was going to do door-to-door sales, and I, looking back, it's so funny, like the recruiting process, but he just presented like this pay scale, and I was like, doing the math, I'm like, dude, if I could get one sale a day selling pest control, I could make about $15 an hour.
Sure.
And back then, minimum wage was like 8 to 9.
Yeah.
And the bank teller job was going to pay me like 12, and I thought that was freaking huge.
Sure.
And I'm like, dude, I could make 15. And then I got out there and started doing door-to-door sales, and I just fell in love with the process of, like, if you work harder and you just want to commit more, you can make more money.
Yeah.
And so I came home from doing that and got into satellite TV sales.
Okay.
And that was more of a year-round sale, and just kept going. So
started in pest control, and I started in alarms.
Okay.
Platinum back in the day, it was like Danny Pesci, Sam Taggart, Taylor McCarthy, and that whole motley crew. But I always remember my first few doors, and definitely my first summer. It's something that I don't think you only have to experience it. When you look back, let's just go on your first summer. Was there ever a time you just wanted to quit and do something else, or did you kind of find joy in it from the beginning?
Yeah, so I flew out, got into town about 4 o'clock, and that same buddy, Tanner, he took me out at 6 o'clock. We went out and knocked like 5 or 6 doors, and I was like, dude, just give me the contract, give me the
Sure.
bind. Like, let me just go on my own. I just
Right.
quickly wanted to like figure it out, and I wanted to like make money. I wanted to see what I could do. So he drops me off, tells me kind of like the pricings, and there was a lot of minimums in pest control.
Okay.
So I go out and I sell 2 contracts. We meet up about a few hours later, and he's like, "How'd you do?" And I'm like, "I got 2." And he's like, "You got 2?" Like, he was so shocked that I got 2 sales. And then he looks at the contract and he's like, "Dude, the minimum on these are $69, like for the bi-monthly service." And he's like, "You sold it at $59." And I'm like, "So what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, you're not going to get paid on this." And I was like, "All right, go take me back to their house." So we go back to the house. He's like, "Do you want me to go with you to help you like resell the guy?" And I was like, "No, I got it." So I go back and I told the guy, I'm like, "Dude, you're my first customer." Like, I just leveled with him, and he's like, "Cool, like that sounds great." So I like bumped it up to $69, and I came back to the car, and he was like, Did you get it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, and he's like, he was so shocked. So then the next day I go out, I close 2 more. The third day I go out, and I'm like thinking like, the third day at correlation meeting, they asked me to come up to the front. They're like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, tell us what you're
Right.
saying." But I was in a group of 28 people, and every day we did goals. Everybody's like, "Oh, I want 5, I want 8, I want 6. Like,
Right.
and I'm thinking everybody's hitting these goals.
Sure.
Come to find out, I'm like one of like 10 people actually getting a deal.
Gotcha.
I don't know why they'd keep having these goals of 5 and 6 and
Yeah.
7 and 8 when they're not getting anything.
Sure.
So day 3, they have me go up in correlation meeting, and I give like, I don't even know what I'm doing to get these sales. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to connect with people. And then that day I bagel. And I was like beside myself. I'm like,
Sure.
"Dude, this sucks. Like, screw this. I worked so hard,
Bagels
got
are
paid
the
nothing."
worst.
And then I never bageled the rest of summer.
Wow.
I just was like, I'm not going to give up. I always was the guy that got the deal
Sure.
before lunch, because in pest control you knock long for an
Okay.
hour. So anyways, that was kind of like the first few days of doors, where it went from like thinking it's normal to get 2 deals a
Yeah.
day to getting nothing and feeling like the world was caving in, and then just kind of like not looking back.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about door-to-door sales, and I think it translates into business and success in life, is it's such a mental game. And I think Sam Taggart shared a story about that when he first came to Platinum. Like, he didn't know anything. He was 18 years old, and he went out there and I think sold 4 or 5 alarms in his first day, just thinking that's what everybody did. And
Right.
then it wasn't until later in that week going to a correlation meeting, and like nobody else was even coming close to his numbers, and then it kind of brought him down a little bit. But
Yeah.
it's like there is sort of a beauty in like not knowing what you don't know, because there is no cap, there is no ceiling. And I think for me, as I look back, I think that was the most challenging thing for me when I started with alarms, because it's like a very hard sale, same day, just that mental side of not wanting to give up. And what I found was, like you said, you felt like you could control no more bagels, right? When you said, "Hey, I bageled once," and then I'm like, "Never again."
Yeah.
Because you're so committed to like, I'm going to do what it takes, I'm going to get one, that, you attract it, you manifest it, and you make it happen. Versus, I remember there were times where like it was 5 p.m. and I was already negotiating in my mind of like, well, it's been really hot and it's a bad neighborhood, and I'm sure I'll get one tomorrow, but today's just not my day. And I was almost making up excuses as to why I wouldn't get a sell that day,
Right.
knowing that there were still 4 more hours left. But that's awesome, because I think it's just a testament to in life having that mental fortitude of like taking the personal responsibility that like you're the captain of your own ship and you're the master of your fate, and you're going to make it happen, which translates to life in all aspects. So you did pest control, and then what had you make the move to satellite?
So I just had come home from that summer and was planning on going out the next summer, and was going to get back to getting that like bank teller job,
Sure.
because I thought door to door was more of like a summer job. And then had the DirecTV guy come by my parents' house. I was still living at home, and he pitched him on DirecTV, and I was in the room, and he's like, "Well, what are you up to?" And I told him I just got done doing door to door sales. And so he lit up and was like, "Dude, like, come do satellite TV sales with us." He's like, "If you make 10 sales in a week, you get $2,000. And so I was like, "Dude, no way," because like in pest control, I wasn't making nearly that much commission.
Right.
And so I was like, "I could do that. Like, how many have you done?" And he had just had like his biggest month ever. That guy had sold like 88 deals in a month.
Boom.
And I'm like, "Dude, if he can do 88, I can do 40. That's 10 a week. That's $2,000 a week. That's $8,000 a month. I can just like reverse
Right.
engineer them." Like, "Dude, let's go. Let's see." And so jumped into that and did that for about 5 or 6 years.
And who was that with? What company?
That was
Or-
with Freedom Communications.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it was like Stetson Banks and
Oh, yeah.
Danny Pickett. And,
Cool. Stetson's a friend of the program, friend of the show. So
yeah.
love
So
Stetson.
Stetson's awesome. So Yeah, he told the story on the podcast about how, because 2-3 weeks later, I was on a call with him, needing to get a windshield for my Geo Prism that I bought from a guy I worked with during that first summer doing pest for $700. And the windshield was cracked. I was talking to my dad, and he's like, "Hey, you remember Stetson from the ward?" He's like, "Yeah, he does windshields." And so it was the funniest freaking phone call.
Well, let's hear it from your side.
Dude, so yeah, we're just on the call, and I'm like, he's like, "All right, so what kind of car do you have?" And I was like, "It's a 94 Geo Prism." And dude, anytime, like, I don't think anybody really knows exactly what that is unless you had one.
I knew a
and
Geo
you just
Metro,
picture like this. Yeah, you just picture like this like tiny little go-kart with like 3 wheels or something. And so he just started dying laughing, and his laugh is like infectious. And my dad starts laughing, and I'm on the call just sitting there like humiliated. And you couldn't possibly offend me, you know, it's just kind of my personality. So I'm just sitting there like waiting for them to stop laughing. And I was just like, at least it's paid for. It's kind of just like was my rebuttal. And then we just started talking about what I was doing for work. And I'm like, dude, you should come do this with us. And I wasn't like trying to like recruit necessarily. I just like wanted someone to do it with me because I was going out every day by myself.
Right.
And so we turned out to be good knocking buddies. We freaking took off together and made tons of money and you know, gone just different paths, but still in sales, both of us. So. Oh,
that's great. Yeah, that's the other thing I think that door-to-door sales has taught me is it attracts some of the very best people as well as some of the very worst. And, you know, for somebody to be highly successful at door-to-door over a long period of time, it's more times than not that person that's really, really good, and it teaches you principles that, you know, you can't learn any other way. There's no college degree. There's no even like online course. It's like you got to get out and go through thousands and thousands of interactions, tens of thousands, to be able to get a thick skin. Like you said, you know, your personality, you know, you're probably born with it or developed it over time, but if you don't have it, you know, door-to-door sales will bring that out in you and be able to give you an opportunity to either be offended or finally just learn like, it doesn't really matter what happens. And then, okay, so you go from satellite, and this is obviously all pre-rep card, but what did you do from satellite after that?
So I did satellite for a lot of years, and then I ended up getting back into pest control in 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. And did that for 4 years, and then did solar the last few years of door-to-door. Okay. But the last 3 years of doing door-to-door, kind of like that last year in pest and the 2 years of solar, I had started RepCard.
Okay, yeah.
And didn't really know what it was going to become, but I was just trying to solve a problem for my sales reps and myself just to have more credibility and not lose so much momentum. You know, reps go in the field, you got a team of 10, 15 guys. I had a team of about 70 pest control guys.
Okay.
And it's like you all go out and sometimes the cops get called or people move area, they don't like their turf, and so you take 20 guys, you know, they knock for 2 or 3 hours before lunch, and then they move territory.
Right.
There's hundreds of interactions that they've had where they just kind of throw them away and start fresh, and that's sometimes like the mind of a door-to-door guy. Like someone cancels and like, I'll just go get another sale.
Right.
But I was like, how do we recapture that time? Like, door-to-door is full of just random engagements, random interactions. No one is expecting to talk to you that day about what you're selling. So when you sent your rep card, it allowed you to establish some credibility. You got your profile picture, your name, your bio, some reviews, some videos, and gave the sales rep insights to when people were engaging and gave the homeowners a chance to follow up or call back if they wanted to get more information.
Right.
And obviously we know that doesn't happen on every single time you send a rep card. But there's plenty of times where it did happen, and there's nothing like waking up to a phone call or a callback. It's like, hey, we're ready to get started. We saw a scorpion last night, dude. My wife freaked out. Do you guys cover scorpions? And you're just like, yes, we do. Like, and it's just like gold. It literally is just like the best phone call. So once I saw that starting to happen, you know, I was like 90 grand into RepCard before I got my first like RepCard sale. Okay. And made a few $100 commission, and I was just like, not the best ROI, but like I think I'm onto something here.
Sure.
And then it's just continued to evolve into what it is today.
So at that time, because I know when I started in alarms, I mean, we were like freaking pen and paper. Like we had these street sheets and whatever. And then I think one of the early door knocking apps I used was like Spotio. What were you guys using beforehand? Do you remember?
When I did pest control, it was just pen and paper. So I had binders, and that was the early days of satellite. Same thing, was just like a paper contract, and then we eventually started using Sales Rabbit.
Okay, yeah.
And so and then eventually Spotio came out. So hats off to those guys for
Sure.
carving kind of the path of digital just technology inside of door to door. They were kind of the first ones to
No, for sure.
do it.
But I think as I look at RepCard, and it's just my opinion, it's like you took that foundation and took it to a whole nother level, because to my knowledge, it's like those were like input data, a place to store data and interactions, but it really didn't have the ability to have that interaction with the customer, right? It was more just rep-centric, company-focused, versus now with RepCard, being able to send you notifications if they look at it, if they clicked on the videos. It just is kind of that little CRM follow-up information. And I guess for you, when was kind of that aha moment, or was there one, or were you just sitting there looking at these and saying, hey, like, I have an idea, I think I can do it better? Or when was sort of that aha moment to start RepCard or go down that road?
Yeah, what's funny is, like, we didn't set out to, like, compete with Sales Rabbit or Spotio or any of those guys. In fact, I was on a call with Brady Anderson, who's the CEO of Sales Rabbit, and this is way before RepCard had started. I just had this idea of this app.
Okay.
To do a digital business card with some follow-up, and I told him on the phone, I was like, hey, I have this idea, because I was working at Bulwark Exterminating, and we used Sales Rabbit. And I was like, hey, I got this idea that I want to, like, throw at you that maybe you guys could, add into the platform or whatever. And he's like, don't tell me, because I'll steal it. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, anytime someone gives me an idea, if we do it then or do it 2 years down the road,
right.
Like, so a lot of times it's already in our backlog, but we finally get to it, and then people try to just claim. I think he was just probably, like, annoyed with all the people that say, like, oh, this was my idea and Sales Rabbit stole it, or, like, and that happens in tech. People always want to, like, claim stuff. And so he said that, and it just kind of caught me off guard. And then he was kind of waiting for me to tell him, like, the idea, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to keep it to myself. It was just kind of like almost like I don't know if it was a pride thing or what, but I was just like, maybe I'll do something with this idea.
Yeah.
And it was like 6 months later that I started it.
Okay.
And it was, again, just a digital business card with follow-up. Was like totally, would have been like an add-on feature for them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been like a competitor. In fact, we had people kind of beating down our door to, like, build a door knocking tool into RepCard for about a year and a half before we did.
Okay.
And I just kind of respected those guys, and, like, I had used their software early on, and it was just kind of like, I don't know if I want to compete. Like, that's not really what we set out to do. But then we had enough people just, like, begging for it. And then there was a few clients that, like, almost demanded. They were like, dude, like, build it, we'll use it. Like, and so we bit that off. And then from there, people want leaderboards and competitions and chat and calendars and everything else. And so I think we do a good job at listening to the client and what they want. And also listening to, like, what the result is that they want.
Sure.
And trying to solve for that.
Okay.
And that's how it's evolved from a digital business card to a full-blown, like, sales system.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about, I think, business in general is you just never really know how things are going to come to fruition. Because, when you start off, and probably for you, I mean, you were already selling, plus you're financially trying to put 90 grand into this thing that you don't know if is that going to be like money set on fire? Is that, hopefully we can just make this cool digital business card, and then, here you are nearly a decade later, and to see what it's evolved to. Was there a point, in that startup process where you're just like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore, or you kind of thought of shutting down, or did it always have some sort of momentum forward, even at the times where it maybe didn't seem the brightest?
I think super early on when you're building it, no one really, the product's not, like, on the market. You're just, like, pumped and you're excited because it's just kind of like momentum's building. And then we went to Door to Door Con 2. That was in 2019, and got a booth. Spent $3,000 on that booth, and that was a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money because it was $3,000. A lot of money because I had already spent, like, tens of thousands of dollars into RepCard, and I always had told myself, okay, this is the last $10,000 and this is the last $17,000 I'm going to pay off on the credit card, and this is the last. My wife's so gracious because she doesn't, she's not on my back tracking me. She just knows I'm going to go out and, like, slay the dragon and freaking come home every day and have food to put on the table and everything. And so she just kind of, like, lets me, like, run wild with that stuff, and isn't, like, right there. And so I had just dumped tons of money in, and then they're like, yeah, this booth is $3,000. I'm like, dude, like, another $3,000, like. And so we did it, and we went to that show, and there was, like, a crowd around our booth the whole time. So that was super awesome to see, like, people want the product.
Right.
But then you see like a competitor do this or someone do that, and you're just like, oh man, like we're just like a feature app. Like
Sure.
that was the thing that I called RepCard forever. Like, we're just a feature. We're just an add-on. And if push comes to shove, companies will just turn it off or justify
Right.
not needing it. I'm like, how do we become more valuable? And how do we become more of like the center point of a business? And that's where like people wanting the canvassing thing, it was kind of this tug of war, and finally we just jumped into it, and it's been a beautiful ride, like just becoming more of a valuable product to companies
Yeah.
and being more of like a center point to their business and helping them scale and ultimately impacting the reps.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I guess for you, I mean, you're in the door-to-door space still, just on the opposite end of it, you know, being a vendor, providing a service to door-to-door salespeople, sales companies, you know. I guess for you, what do you feel like you've learned being on the other side of it that maybe, because, you know, when you're a sales rep or you're building even a sales company, it's like you kind of see things through like one lens. Is there anything that stuck out to you from like the back end as far as like a difference, or like the difference between some successful companies you work with and those that aren't, or anything that kind of stands out from being behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's something that's in every, I feel like, business success book, is just like processes and systems is what you need to scale. And so we see companies, like you said, from like the backside of like they're just airing out everything that's going on with their business and
Right.
what they're struggling with. And the ones that stick around and the ones that have been through all the ups and downs with like solar and these different, you know, door-to-door industries are the ones that just invest into systems and processes. And so it's like that for us too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, as a SaaS company, like we're in that stage right now, like really systematizing the business. And, you know, we had our biggest month last month, and like we're growing, but it's like, how do we like systematize what we're doing and
Sure.
really bring on, you know, top tier talent to help us do
Right.
those things. And so that's kind of the big difference. There's a lot of, like, I had a call today with a guy that claimed they had like, you know, 20 reps. And so usually I don't take demos, but I ended up having one pop on my calendar today. Ends up being a guy and one rep. The rep had used RepCard. And long story short, it was like we're pitching $50 a month per user and an onboarding of $1,000. And he ended up just hanging up the call. It's never ever happened to me. And he just hung up the call, like clicked off, like after they had said, you know what, I don't know if we're going to do it. And I'm like, well, how are you going to solve all these problems that we just
Right.
talked about, area management and chat, and like, you know, how are you going to be set up to scale? And he just like hit the off button. And I was like, that's door to door. Like,
Right.
like it was just wild to me that they can't see that they need systems and processes
Sure.
to recruit people to. He just was literally looking at the dollar amount. Like it was just like a price. I'm like, there's a cost to not having this. And
Right.
anyways, it was just, there's that side of door to door, and then there's the other side of like
Sure.
systems and processes and people that are iterating on that.
Yeah, no, and I think that definitely resonates with me because, you know, I think that's what we've learned, and I'm sure you have as well. When you're in a startup phase, it's like you're kind of just doing everything and anything, and it's like you don't really know what you're doing. You're just figuring it out, and then as time goes on, you're like, okay, these things work, these things don't work. How do we keep accentuating the things that do work, get rid of the things that don't? But then also you got to try to see several steps ahead, and I think it comes 100% back to what you said is the process. So when we started our businesses, we started with a book called The E-Myth. I don't know
Yep.
if you've heard of that, where it's all about systems, processes, like to build a business as if it were to be franchised, that if, you know, something happened to one position and you had to hire somebody tomorrow, how could you plug them in and make it so that they do it your way? And that takes a lot of work, like a lot of mental work, a lot of clerical work.
Yeah.
Like that's not like, hey, I'm not going to go write this manual out and get a bunch of money in return for it automatically.
Yeah, it feels like a waste of time.
Yes, it does. But as you see, as you grow and you start bringing on volume and then you start seeing the holes in the ship, it's like if you don't have that foundation, you're just running behind all these holes trying to plug them as you go, versus having a good foundation. It's like, okay, yeah, we can plug this one and now we're good for a while, and then we see another one. Are there any sort of books or training programs or anything that you feel like has helped you move from that, you know, startup phase to being a more of an established business, or do you feel like you learned most of it just as you went?
I'm not like the biggest reader, but one of the books that sticks out to me is The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Okay.
Just having a mission that's bigger than your business.
Sure.
Like ours is just to help sales reps win more in the field so they can spend more time with their family.
Yeah.
And I've told that to clients that are shopping us and another tool or something. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, like, I want you to go with the tool that you truly feel is going to put your reps in the position
right.
to win more jobs, whether that be us or someone else. But I'm going to fight for my system because I know that our system will provide that for your reps. And that's why you may, feel me push on you or come at you or try to sell you, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's because I know that we can deliver that. I know what I'm going to deliver. Yeah. And I know that your reps will have that type of experience. But the other thing is just like networking and masterminds and being around people that are 10 steps ahead of you. We're currently in the Dan Martell SaaS Academy.
Oh, cool.
And that's just been so huge. We have like our own personal coach and, he coaches me and our COO and it's just unbelievable the stuff that they can help you get through because they've been there. He's exited 3 companies.
Right.
And they can help you and guide you. So going back to those systems and processes where you feel like you don't know what's going on, you're just trying to like forge your way forward. A mastermind, a networking group can help. And then if you can get to more of a one-on-one coach, sometimes it's pricey, but it pays huge dividends. So I've used that path more than just books.
Sure.
But books help along the way. I'm just not a huge book reader.
Yeah, no, that's awesome because I feel like it's true, because it's like what you know and you don't know, like that's in like this box, but there's a whole lot of stuff that like you don't know that.
Yeah.
And there's these companies, and that's the thing I've always sort of found to be true is success does leave clues. Like whether it's fitness, right? It's like eat less, move more. Whether it's a solar salesman, a pest salesman, alarm salesman, like you said, you've seen people, oh, so-and-so did 88. Well, I could at least do 40. And there's sort of this formula there. You see what's possible and you're able to move forward. But it definitely becomes a whole different game when it's like you have this clear blueprint that it's like, hey, we follow this and implement, some of this that's working for us already.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit. And obviously you find yourself probably in an interesting place because I don't feel like every door-to-door industry, like it's an industry that's connected, but I feel like the ebbs and flows of each industry have definitely been different. Like for example, I started in alarms and it seemed like for a long time alarms was fading and then solar was popping up, right? And then pest was always there and they've kind of just stayed the course and solar's been up and down and then there's fiber. Like I guess from your lens or view, what do you see in the door-to-door space right now and what has you excited for the future?
Yeah, dude, like you said, like you nailed it. Satellite TV industry gone. Alarms, there's a very few still doing it. Solar's changing every day, it seems like. There's just more products popping up with like fiber and, window sales. We have people doing car dent repair,
wow,
which is kind of an insurance play.
Sure.
With hail damage and stuff like that. We've seen tons of different industries, not necessarily pop up, but just over the years, we're like, oh, wow, I didn't know people sold that door to door.
Right.
So I feel like the industry as a whole is good and healthy. But with solar changing, a lot of people are just transitioning to various industries.
And for you guys, that's a part of your business. I'm sure it's not all of it. Are there any other non-door-to-door industries that you guys have gotten into, or do you have thoughts or like what's your kind of growth for the future?
Yeah, so our product works really well with anybody that's a business owner, entrepreneur, go-getter, like that's paid on commission. So like insurance agents, real estate agents, car salesmen, those type of industries where they're just like doing a lot of daily interaction, a lot of lead flow,
right?
Trying to engage, trying to capture people's attention. Our products serve those industries really well. So we've started to market and to pay attention to what's going on in those industries, and we're kind of tweaking some stuff in our platform to be able to market to them more aggressively. So that's how we're kind of like diversifying, if that's the word, and just being smart about this product that we have that's been more door-to-door focused because of my background and because of like the success and like the events we go to, but we're starting to lean into other industries.
Yeah, because I feel like that's where, like for example, if you use Sales Rabbit, and I don't know everything about them, or Spodio, it's like that's like a door knocking app. Like whenever I think of door knocking app, that's what I think. But your guys, it's so multifaceted that it's not just a door knocking app. Like you said, like that was something you just added on.
Yeah.
As mostly a necessity. But I think, and we've been victim to it too. I think the future is, and you're seeing it with Go High Level and just different CRMs and automation, is like, and you see it on broader industries, data, like capturing data, having data, being able to recycle data, reach out to clientele is a very huge industry.
Yeah.
That, it's like companies like Facebook, Instagram, like that's all they're doing every day is capturing data, and then more individual data on their customers so they know how to target you. As you guys see, an evolution, like if someone were to ask you like, what is RepCard? How would you explain it, I guess, from your point of view? Because it's not just like, oh, we're a door knocking app, or hey, we're a digital business card app. Like, what's your description of, like, somebody says, what's RepCard?
Yeah, because it does so many different things. Usually it depends on like who they are or what industry they're in is kind of how I respond. But generally speaking, it's a sales enablement tool.
Cool.
To help you, really stand out and build that personal brand. So as you do that, it allows you to capture their information through the digital business card and then use different tools to follow up. And so as things evolve and AI and different things like MCP servers and just different technology is coming out, we'll be playing that same game just to help you capture data and then recycle it and reuse it and rehash it so that you can best leverage the data that you capture, because, there's updates coming out like an iOS here in the next few months where it's going to be silencing calls, robocalls, and it won't even ring your phone. Like, right now, you get a robocall, it still rings, and you like decline it. Like, it'll get to the point where they're not even going to let the call go through. And so, at that point, you have to be able to take advantage of all those engagements.
Right.
Whether it's the guy at the gas station that sees your shirt, like, oh, you do solar, like, dude, I've been thinking about that, and you're like, great, let me grab your info, and like you engage to a door knock to, an event you do, like. Any data you capture, you need to be able to recycle that and rehash it.
Right.
Because that's going to be gold.
Sure.
Because it's going to be that much harder to just do outbound and just hit people that are cold. Because I think people are tired of it.
Right.
Of all the reach out.
All the spam. Yeah. I mean, I was in a meeting today and I got 4 different calls back to back to back.
Yeah. If you own a piece of real estate and have a certain amount of equity in it,
yeah, that makes sense.
You fit into a box.
Okay.
And then they will just hound you like. I get hit all the time to, can we buy your house? And I'm like, no, like, and it's multiple times a day.
Right.
And so, fortunately, the phone does some spam detection. But,
sure.
But yeah.
And, broader, I kind of want to step away from just like, what does RepCard do? I think something you said, Simon Sinek is a very big proponent of this, like why, knowing your why, having a big why. I've seen a few things on your swag, but do you want to talk about those briefly of just like, do good, it'll come back, and be kind, and like, where did all that stem from? And
yeah, I think just where did it stem from? I'm not exactly sure where it where it totally originated from, but I just know from like my childhood, like I had a front row seat watching my dad just serve and give and give and give of his time and of his resources. I feel like everybody that knows my dad owes him a favor. Like he just is a giver and just gives of everything he has. And so I saw how relationships should be developed, and I saw that relationships matter, the long term, or just giving and serving someone without having any type of agenda and looking for something in return. And so when RepCard was young, our logo was just an RC, which is kind of common for, I don't know, just trying to get something going. And as I thought about the brand, I'm like, one day we may change the name of this company, and so what's something that could be like more evergreen? And I just thought of a boomerang and like the boomerang effect. Like you put out good things into the world and take care of people and treat people right, starting with your own employees and your customers. Like, and good things just will come back. Wow. And I think it's part of, because when you're that type of person, you look for the good in things. Yeah. I don't think there's like a direct, like you do something today and like tomorrow something happens. It's just you're typically an optimist or optimistic person, and you're looking for the good in things. And so we've just started to brand that.
That's awesome.
And make that part of who we are. It's on our swag, and that fires me up. Like, yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. I think that's So true. And that's what's kind of, if there's anything about the industry we're in, whether, even just take out door to door, but solar in general, is it's like, man, there are some of the very, and I said it earlier, some of the very best people and definitely some of the worst. I mean, other than people that have worked for us directly, I literally don't know a single person that like has went through the solar industry and not had money stolen from them or not been paid. You know what I mean? And it's like we've had that. That's why we started our own thing, and our reps have never experienced that. But I think it's so true that like doing business the right way never goes out of style. Treating people the right way never goes out of style. Like we had a customer today blowing us up from a year ago. Something happened inside of his electrical panel. They labeled the breakers wrong. And so he's trying like a year later to say, hey, that's our fault. Like he's having electrical issues. We mislabeled his breakers. Like we didn't do a panel upgrade. We didn't touch your breakers. We added a solar breaker. That was it. And, we didn't have to go out there and go fix that for him. But after a few discussions, it's like our company motto is powering a better experience. And this guy's been very difficult, but we're like, you know what? We're just going to go out there and help him out because you just don't know how it's going to come back around. It could be a referral.
Right.
They could maybe want a second system. They could want a battery, or maybe they just don't. It never comes back in that direct way. But we've just been firm believers that if you take care of your people internally, you treat them right, train them right, give them the right foundation, that's going to get you customers that are in line with that. And then you take care of your customers, you're going to get referrals, you're going to get more business. And unfortunately, I feel like because of the economics of solar, it really has caused people to not do business the right way, to go out there, burn as many boats as they can, capture as much money as they can, shut down the LLC, start up a new one.
Yeah.
And no, it's just awesome to connect with people like you and companies like you that it's like you're aligned and you're doing business the right way, because that's what lasts. And it may not always seem like it's the best route, and it might have some more challenges in some ways, but it will sustain long term. And I guess for you and RepCard, this is just more of a general curiosity I had. I mean, what's it like being in the SaaS industry, especially maybe when it's connected to door to door? Is it like, I don't know, you're probably not calling up, Sales Rabbit and other companies like rubbing shoulders. I mean, is it kind of like cutthroat, or what's it like in that regard?
No, I wouldn't say it's super cutthroat. I think that SaaS industry in general, like super generally speaking, is cutthroat. Like you just never know. When in the early days when we were just a digital business card, I'm like, dude, Google's going to come out with a Google card tomorrow. Like who knows? Like
Right.
Apple they came out with their little digital business card like long after we had kind of pivoted from that. But if they would have come out with that when we were young, like it would have been like, you
Right.
just never know when these big players can do something to change. And we've like scaled past them making one little tweak and it just like
Right.
hurting our business. But so I think in general, when you own a younger tech company, it's like, dude, like what could happen that could just like totally change what's
Right.
going on in your business. And but as far as direct competitors and stuff, like all of our competitors are cool, and I've gotten to meet a ton of those guys, and so it's more of a general thing that's just kind of more daunting,
Right.
versus it being like worrying about a direct competitor
Sure.
or something like that.
No, that makes sense. And I guess this kind of circles back, not to boomerang back, but here we are. When you think of RepCard and even yourself, I mean, you talked about your dad's example and just doing the right things. I mean, when it's all said and done, that's the other thing I've kind of learned in life is like, man, you're pest control, satellite pest control, solar, now you're doing this. Like, you never know what's coming next, how things could pivot, change. Maybe you sell, maybe you keep doing this forever, but there's going to be some day where RepCard is either sold or you're no longer doing it, just like the businesses I run. Like, if you look back on that, though, moving forward, what would you want RepCard's legacy and maybe even your own personal legacy to be?
Just that we treated people like people. We treat people like humans. We treat people with respect. I think everybody's going through something. Like, I know that's like said a lot or mentioned a lot in various things, but I just truly believe like people need second chances. And so at RepCard, offering them RepCard through their company isn't like we're giving them a second chance, but we just try to serve the rep and the fact that they're tied to a family they're tied to a wife and kids or a
Sure.
husband and kids or whatever, and we try to serve that individual through our client, because it's usually our client's reps. But whenever we're on demos, I always tell the client, like, our mutual client, like the person we're trying to help out is your rep. And so I just want those reps or people that remember RepCard as a company that tried to serve the individual.
Yeah.
And that would sacrifice whatever they needed to help them win more. So.
Well, that's awesome. And it's probably not something that I would have even thought about, but it'd be crazy to know the amount of like customer transactions that, between all the spaces that you've been in, how many have, RepCard, I mean, you're a part of it, and that's something that's cool is, you're helping the rep, you're helping the company, you're also helping the customer because, hey, companies that aren't using RepCard and they're not following up and, you're allowing a path for a customer to buy a product as well as helping that salesperson. So, that's really cool, man. And yeah, we appreciate you coming on, taking some time out of your busy schedule. Also appreciate the shoe game. Not everybody on here has as sweet as shoes as you, so I appreciate it.
Same, bro. I was eyeing those, the books.
Yeah, the books, the OGs, snakeskin.
Yeah, let's go.
And if people that aren't already connected to you, if they want to find you on the socials, if you want to give your handles and a way for them to find you in RepCard.
Yeah, so for RepCard, it's the RepCard app is our handle for all the socials, and then my personal one is the Brad Mortensen. There's another Brad Mortensen that lives here in the Valley that got married the same day I did.
Really?
Dude, like, we're the same age, both have 4 kids. Like, his wife actually delivered my last kid. Like,
what?
So we're like kind of connected, and anyway, so we always compete for the handles and different things around. I swear, I'm like, dude. So,
that's awesome.
Anyways. It's the Brad Mortensen.
The Brad Mortensen.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, that's the best I could come up with.
Dude, that's 101 right there.
Yeah.
What's his? Just Brad Mortensen?
Yeah, dude. I think he just stole Brad. I tried to get the email back in the day, Brad Mortensen, and it wasn't there. So I emailed it, and I'm like, dude, give me my email back. Never got a response, but
right.
I was just like, I'm going to email him and say, hey, what are you doing with my email? But, anyways.
Cool. No, that's awesome, man.
Stuff.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate the conversation, and it's true. What goes around comes around, the boomerang effect. You want more good in your life, put more good out there and start looking forward, and it'll definitely come to fruition. So subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Be Bright Podcast.